This is a WWN Publishing Group recording. Copyright 2017, all rights reserved. This is an abridged version of Hot Georgia Rein by Martha Sweeney to make the story appropriate for all listeners on YouTube. Read to you by the author. If you want to read the complete story, you can find the ebook or paperback online. Links are provided below in the description. Chapter 4, Henry. Juliana would have liked you to wear this suit, Mrs. Summerlin states, walking down the stairs with something in her hands. I've been standing in the foyer with my family, waiting for her and her husband to come downstairs so we can leave. The woman has been in the house for 20 minutes doing God only knows what. I'm wearing this one, I reply calmly, despite the fact that I'm irritated at how my dead wife's mother is still trying to control me, which all started when we got engaged. I think he looks good in this one, my mother states, tapping my chest. The only difference is the pinstripe in that one. I remember how Juliana always said she liked seeing him wear this one, Mrs. Summerlin chokes, raising her hand to her mouth in a dramatic way. They're practically the same and the only two suits I have, I remind, unimpressed by her poor attempts to control me. Just try it on, Mrs. Summerlin suggests. Let's see the difference and then decide. How about someone ask me what the hell I want to wear rather than what you would prefer, I question sharply. Henry, my father cautions, chiding me. No, I bark, tired of Juliana's parents' antics this entire week. I'm tired of everyone questioning every fucking thing I've done for this funeral. If y'all want it different, tough shit. I'm doing what Juliana asked me to do the last time we spoke, and I'm wearing the suit that I've already got on. The jury, including my mother, stand still and remain quiet for several long seconds. They don't challenge me, and I appreciate the small victory. Let's take a breather out in the barn, Davis suddenly suggests when the air in the house becomes almost completely suffocating. He grabs my arm and he opens the front door. Yeah, I agree, willing to follow after him. I could use a good cold one. No drinking, Mrs. Summerlin directs. Think of Juliana. Let the man have a drink, my father insists. The boy's been through enough. I don't bother to look back and curse under my breath at her insistence. Davis yanks me out onto the porch and closes the door fast, not allowing anyone else to add their 2 cents into the whole matter. I could go for a beer too, Davis comments as we get halfway to the barn. I might need a whole fucking case with me if the rest of the goddamn day is going to continue like this, I state. I don't blame you, Davis replies. We enter the barn, and like on autopilot, Davis grabs us each a drink, pops the tops off the bottles with the edge of the workbench, and hands me one. We slam them down, gulping about half of the bottle before coming up for air. We stand silently, staring off into space for a long while. I decide to take a sip, needing more liquid courage. Despite the fact that I had been living back in the house with Juliana since finding out she was sick, I can't be in it, let alone sleep in it. The barn is more comfortable for me right now, with everything going on, and what I'm hoping will happen. So, Davis says, trailing off. So, I pry, not sure what he's doing. Do you think Ivy is coming? I mean, to the funeral and all, Davis returns, catching himself just after I see his smile. What? He feigns. Don't know, I answer, chugging the rest of my drink. Do you want her to show? He pries. Yes and no, I admit honestly. Really? Davis pushes. Really, I confirm, grabbing a second bottle from the fridge. Does this mean if she does come, that she's fair game? He checks. I study him as I remove the cap. No. Come on, man, Davis whines. You were too chicken shit to do anything when she was back the last time. Don't care, I return coldly. There's no way in hell I'll give my older brother permission to pursue Ivy. He's liked her since Ivy and I were 15. Davis is 2 years older than me and always knew how to get the girls. All of the girls except Ivy. You still love her, he claims. Don't see how any of that might be your business, especially on the day I'm burying my fucking wife, I spit. What crawled up your ass, Davis says, backpedaling a little. The Summerlins and you, I explain. She's probably not going to show, Davis comments. She didn't show for the wedding, so why would she come now? He snickers, and I know it's because the innuendo of his last few words pops into his head. That's Davis. I bite back my own response to the joke. Cool it, I command. What? He denies. You know what, I inform. Okay, fine, he huffs. I still can't believe she chose you over me back then. I snicker as a prideful smile splashes on my face. That's because she knew you were a player. Was not, Davis denies. I couldn't help it if some of the girls really liked me. You really liked underclassmen, I remind, including my dead wife. I didn't get mad when you married her after she and I dated for a bit. So why would you be mad if I pursue Ivy if she's here? He pushes. Because, I reply. Because why? He asks. Because you didn't and don't love either of them, I remind. You just like trying to get into their pants. You didn't love one of them, Davis remarks. I know, I sigh. I've regretted that since the day I married her. Why didn't you divorce her? Davis asks. Because that's not something you do down here, I remind. Were you relieved when you found out that she was sick? He pries. What? I gasp. You know what I mean, Davis defends. Juliana and I didn't always get along, but I would never have wished that on her, I state. She didn't deserve to die, but she also didn't deserve a husband who didn't love her. She deserved one who could have loved her the way she needed. I know, Davis nods. I know, you tried. She just wasn't Ivy. No one will ever be my Ivy but Ivy, I agree. I want an Ivy, Davis states. My eyes cut to him, shocked by his words. You know what I mean, he explains. I don't want your Ivy. I want my own Ivy. Yeah, I sigh, understanding the little bit of emotion my brother is sharing with me. Well, we better sling these back and get out there before the Summerlins start freaking out again about something else, driving Mom and Dad to do something unethical or illegal, Davis declares, slamming back his entire second beer. Fuck, I chuckle, chasing the last bit of my drink as well. It's one thing for the Summerlins to hound me, it's another for them to do it to my parents. I'm grateful that Mom and Dad are able to help keep Juliana's parents at bay, but I don't wish the thing that is Mr. and Mrs. Summerlin on anyone. They eat at your soul like the cancer that claimed Juliana's life. I wouldn't be surprised if that's partly to blame for her being ill, among other things. After the incident in the house, the Summerlins have yet to bother me again since we left for the viewing. Either Mom or Dad said something to them, or they're so focused on grieving for Juliana that no one else exists right now, unless that person drones on and on about Juliana leaving too soon. With my sunglasses on, I keep my head bowed as person after person comes up to pay their respects. I barely notice anyone outside of a few people while my eyes scan for Ivy. I see her parents and her brother, but not her. When we get to the cemetery, all I can think about or question is how much more does the priest really need to speak before lowering the casket into the grave. I've never liked funerals, and I'm tired of putting on a show for everyone who's acting as if Juliana and I were the model young couple in town. Everyone assumed they knew us and our relationship, but they didn't. That's the one thing I did appreciate with Juliana. She never gossiped about our problems. She would talk about everyone else's shit, but she always made it sound like I was the husband of the year. Juliana knew I didn't love her from the beginning. I cared for her, but I couldn't love her, not when I was racked with guilt for letting Ivy go. Plus, Ivy was my true love, the one I let get away. Juliana knew she could never be or replace Ivy, but she did try while we dated and for the first year of our marriage. When she got tired of fighting me to be a happy couple, that's when we started to fight on a weekly basis, usually more than once a week. She kept pushing to have kids, and I kept avoiding it and her altogether. Did I want kids? Yes, at some point, but not with her. If I was going to have kids with anyone, it would have been with Ivy. I knew that Juliana thought that a child might make us a family, might make us into something we never were or would be, but I knew the kid would just suffer like many do in ours and other small towns. There were a few times when I caught Juliana on top of me in the middle of the night, riding me until I was coherent enough to know what she was doing and tossed her off of me. She was trying to get pregnant since I stopped sleeping with her willingly. The third time she did it was when I started sleeping out in the barn. To the town and her parents, Juliana and I were trying to have kids, but weren't successful. I'm not sure if Juliana told her mother about our challenges. I doubt it with the way the woman has always treated me, so it makes sense that she was the one to suggest to Juliana to have us both checked for fertility problems. Juliana was so sure it was me. I refused to go through the test, suspicious of her trying to use it to impregnate herself behind my back. At some point, she had herself tested, and that's when the doctors found cancer in her ovaries. Apparently, back in high school, when Mrs. Summerlin found out that Juliana was having sex with a lot of men, which included my brother and one of the teachers, she had Juliana be given the HPV vaccine to prevent any unwanted diseases and then put her on birth control. I only know this because I overheard Juliana and her mother talking about it when they thought I wasn't around. When Juliana was first diagnosed, the doctors didn't understand why or how she would have developed cancer at her young age. A few months later, a variety of articles were popping up, stating that many women who were on birth control were more likely to develop breast cancer, and those who were given the HPV vaccine had a high risk of developing ovarian cancer. When the doctors went to operate and remove the tumors, they found out that it had already spread farther than they thought, and it was just a matter of time before Juliana would die. Juliana tried to fight it for a year, but the cancer was spreading aggressively. Today, the people in attendance know what they need to know about Juliana. I've made her sound like the hero of the story, not wanting her to be remembered in a negative light, despite all of our challenges. I felt comfortable doing so since she and I had a discussion the night before she passed. Juliana did most of the talking, but she also did a lot of forgiving and apologizing too, not just me. I thought it was only fair to honor her wishes. For as happy and attention-seeking as she was, she wanted her funeral to be simple, light, and freeing, for herself and everyone she loved, including me. She forgave me for the inability to love her and requested that if I had a second chance with Ivy, to not fuck it up this time. Her words, not mine. The memory of our last conversation brings a chuckle to my lips. I look up to all the faces around me, hoping that none of them have taken note to my, whatever they would call it, inappropriate behavior. I let out a sigh of relief when I realized that I haven't been caught. My eyes flick across the faces near and far, but my Ivy is nowhere to be found. My gut flips with disappointment and despair. I pray that she's here, admitting to only myself and God that I want her here, that I need her here. "You ready?" Davis asks, pulling me from my thoughts. "Huh?" I reply, looking up. "To go," he checks. "We should make our way back to the house for the wake." "Yeah, sure," I huff, already tired of being around so many people. My brother and I aren't really the personable type with people unless we like them. We're good when it's just the people we know and tolerate. With situations like this, where there are so many people I don't really know or can stand, my ability to cope and be nice is limited. When we get inside the car, Davis offers me a flask. "What's this?" I ask. "Figured we might need some more distraction today," he states. "You haven't been drinking since the house, have you?" I pray. "I'm not an idiot," Davis replies. "I know not to drink and drive." "Good," I reply, unscrewing the cap and chugging the entire container. "Hey," Davis whines. "Not cool. There's plenty more at the house you can use to fill it up," I remind. "Plus, you're driving." "True," Davis says, taking the now empty flask. "Let's go get a refill." This is the end of this chapter. Thank you for listening. I hope you're enjoying the story so far. To read the full unabridged version, you can find a link in the description below. To find out about new releases before the general public, be sure to subscribe to my newsletter. You'll find a link also in the description. Also, to be notified when the next chapter is published, make sure you subscribe to my channel.